Actually, when we use the term theatre, we mean the urban theatre. We get the image of the proscenium theatre in the cities. For rural theatre, we have to use a qualifying adjective like folk or traditional. So they run parallelly with practically no give and take between them. So here what we had before, the folk theatre, should be called the first theatre. The city theatre which we imported from the West should be the second theatre. Now if for some people, some theatre people, none of these theatres are quite suitable or adequate, and those people try to find an alternative theatre, and that can be called the third theatre. In this context I use the term the third theatre. In the sense that the form is very strong and the connection they make with the audience, this actor-audience relationship is wonderful. The strength of the folk theatre. Why I didn't find that suitable for our purpose is in the matter of content. The content is mostly backdated. Not only backdated, it has got no relationship with the present day life of the people, the toiling people. And quite often it expresses the wrong values, teaching people subjugation and depending on gods and goddesses rather than analyzing the situation and standing for their own rights. So that is what I found wrong with it. The second theatre, content-wise, is much more progressive than the first theatre, but it's limited to the cities, to the educated, urban, middle class or upper class communities who cannot really take action in social change or leadership action in social change. That's the limitation. So I was groping, I was exploring anyway for an alternative theatre where we can talk about social change but also go to the people easily.
আমরা প্রসেনিয়াম থিয়েটারের বাইরে আজ প্রায় 22-23 বছর থিয়েটার করছি। মাঠে করেছি, গার্জেনবাগে করেছি, ফুটপাতে করা আমাদের কাছে নতুন নয়। আবার একটা ঘরের মধ্যে মেঝেতে দর্শকের সঙ্গে অভিনয় ক্ষেত্রে ভাগাভাগি করে নিয়েও করেছি। থিওজফিক্যাল সোসাইটি হলে, কলেজ স্কোয়ারে, অথবা সিন্ধু ইউথ অ্যাসোসিয়েশন হলে, অথবা প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজের বেকার হলের সামনের আঙিনাটাতে।
And the answer is quite obvious, but we theatre people usually overlook it. The answer is that theatre is a live show, the films are not. With all its inadequacies, this is the greatest strength of theatre. Live show means here, now. It means two bodies of people, the spectators and the performers, have to come to the same place on the same day and at the same time and stay together for some time. Otherwise, the event of theatre will not take place. That is the strength of theatre.
সব যাত্রা শোভাযাত্রা শুভযাত্রা পদযাত্রা যাত্রা আসুন আসুন মিছিল আরম্ভ হয়ে গেছে সুবিধা মতো জায়গা দিচ্ছে রাস্তার দুপাশে বসে যান মিছিল মিছিল অন্নবস্ত্র মিছিল পরমার্থ মিছিল শিল্পী মিছিল মিলিটারি মিছিল উদ্বাস্ত মিছিল বন্যাত্রাণ মিছিল শোক মিছিল প্রতিবাদ মিছিল উৎসব মিছিল সিনেমাগুলো মিছিল আসুন আসুন মিছিল 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 Mitchell, 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 Mitchell,
Came out, we found that we do not need those costly and heavy paraphernalia of sets, spotlights, all these heavy costumes and makeup. We can depend on the imagination on the audience. So that gave rise to the concept of free theatre. It laid the foundation of free theatre. That means we can evolve a flexible, portable and inexpensive theatre, which is the crux of this third theatre. We can carry our theatre wherever we want to. We don't have to hire porters, let up our trucks. We can walk through the fields with our theatre. We can perform without spotlight, certainly, not without electricity. In kerosene light or daylight we can perform. So we do not have to spend much money. Very little money we have to spend. And whatever money we need, we can get it from voluntary donation from our audience. So all these other means of theatre people, city theatre people to get money. Selling of tickets, we don't sell tickets. Asking for government grants, we don't even apply. Going to the big business houses for sponsorship, we can't even think of that. And certainly we don't have any rich patron. But still, for 22 years, our theatre, not only our group, but other groups also who are doing this third theatre, these groups survive very well. No problem, no money problem we have.
I think if you go back to the 60s when Badal Babu started writing, initially what he brought into play with great power, with great imagination, and a whole different style of writing was to present the situation of a conscientious, sensitive, middle-class individual in Calcutta. And this part of the country has been very strongly radical and political from a very early period. So in the post-independence setting, especially in the 60s, when the early hopes, the early expectations were found to have been frustrated, there was a sense of anger, a sense of resentment growing at one level, and a kind of resentment which didn't really find any focus. The political movement was not really in a state where it could take up this spirit of resentment. and the frustration, the struggle, the internal conflicts of a middle-class individual in Calcutta who felt that he had to do something in these circumstances and couldn't find a way out. This became, in a way, Badal Babu's concern in the 60s. And it was so different in the context of the Indian theatre, where there was some kind of a conscious attempt in the works of Rakesh and Girish particularly in the 60s to locate in a kind of a mythical, constructed Indian theatre. And this man, and also Tendulkar in his own way in Maharashtra, they were so different from Mohan and Girish at that particular point of time, because they were doing something out of the social crisis, the sense of the crisis at the core of society at that particular given historical point of time. So I think Badal Babu and Tendulkar in his way, they were historicizing the sensibility and historicizing theatre at that particular point of time. And it is this historicization that leads on naturally with Badal Babu, where I think Vijay got stuck in a way, where Badal Babu started growing with the movement as it shaped, and he had to make the break from the proscenium theatre in the early 1970s, in the very early 1970s, because this was a period when the Naxalite movement had opened up another possibility, another expression or manifestation of that resentment, that demand for change, and not a celebration of tradition, which was becoming one of the main planks of the Indian theatre at that given point of time. So this departure was a very logical extension of the historicization that Badal Babu had accomplished even in the 60s. So he naturally came into that.
So it became gradually a philosophy, a politics if you like. Now as we can take our theatre to different remote parts of the country, to the toiling people, to the peasants, a philosophy developed, I mean, on social change. That means we will not do any play, even if it is written by me. We will not do any play. We will do those plays which are related in some way or other to social change. Otherwise, we won't perform that. That is our philosophy. So, our plays, our theatre has become content-based. Content first, which means what we want to say. Form follows content. Form is how we say that. So we are not committed to a particular form. For each play we explore for the form. And we are not interested in taking theatre form from point A to point B. But we do experiment to find out the best form which will project a particular content of a particular play most adequately and most intensely. Our training process is what we call our workshop, you see. So the preparation of any play is the workshop method. The workshop does several things. First, self-awareness, to look inside, and then looking inside, trying to find our real nature, our feelings, meet it face to face, then linking it with our outward bodily expression. So that's the mind-body link, the theme. What the theme does to our interior, our inner mind, and how it is expressed by our outer body, including voice. Again, the workshop teaches us mutual trust, cooperation, teamwork, then sense of our relationship with different elements in space. There are so many aspects of workshop. It's a complete methodology with linked games and exercises.
My initial reactions to Badal Sircar are all recorded in his book, Third Theatre. I mean, the reviews have been quoted there. And they're very complimentary. Because I thought then, and even now think, that Spartacus, which it did for Angan Potrika or the Arena Theatre, on the second floor of the Academy of Fine Arts in, it would be I think 72, is one of the most rewarding experiences I have had in theatre. And if I have asked to choose, the best of Indian theatre, I think I will place that.
It became almost a way of life with us. We were all interested in social change. Interested again is a very weak word. We were very much involved in the thing. So sharing our consciousness, whatever level it is at, with many people, particularly the toiling people in the rural areas, that became our main purpose.
রাজকোষেতে হলো চুরি রাজার নিদ্রা ভঙ্গ রাজকোষেতে করলো চুরি সে যে চোরের রাজা চোরের মন্ত্রী চোর ও চূড়ামণি আমরা আছি এমন দেশে চোরের গতি রাজার কোষে ঘন্টা বোঝায় গেল শেষে রাজা মশাই দিচ্ছে হাত দেশের সকল জ্যোতিষদা কোতোয়াল ভাই মজায় আজ দিচ্ছি আমার বুড়ি চোর ধরতে জ্যোতিষ আছে তাই তো তাহার চিন্তা মিছে পড়লে ধরা মারতে চাবুক নেই কো তাহার জুড়ি
When we stopped selling tickets, the audience behaved in such a friendly manner. It was a real human relationship, and they cooperated with us. When we performed in Angan Manch in a closed room, they will not accept houseful from us. They will anyway enter, and they will squeeze themselves in any position, suffering the heat, and keep absolutely silent. That kind of friendliness we got. Then in one show I remember, there was a sudden load shedding. And I was acting at that time, everybody busy. Only one person was outside with the candles. One or two. They entered with the lighted candles. The house was full. I didn't know where they will place the candles. They simply handed over the candles to the members of the audience and they held the candles for us to go on performing. There was no break. Just one example. I mean, absolute friendly human relationship.